Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com, still fighting that cold. So, here's your photo of the week. It is Questlove of the Roots, taken in 2003, September 16th, 2003. And what a really fun, eventful, interesting, eye-opening experience this photo shoot was. And it was for Rolling Stone. Let's see where to start. I get a call from my editor at the time at Rolling Stone and said, hey, the Roots are starting recording on their new album, The Tipping Point. This is probably 3 albums ago at this point. And she's like, yeah, we want you to go there, take pictures of the party, starts at 4:30. So what do? I show up at 4:30. They tell me the party doesn't start till 10. Oh well, so I'm there, I'm just hanging out, hanging with the Roots. They're having another photo shoot done. I don't remember who it was for, but just hanging out there. What an awesome studio. It's in Philadelphia. It's right next to the Electric Factory, which is a nice venue where everybody plays. But you go up there, and then you've got, you know, just a lounge area. The back room has the studio. It has Questlove's record room, which you see here, which had, at the time, 37,000 records, all organized in only a way that Questlove could find what he was looking for. It wasn't alphabetical. It wasn't by year. I couldn't even tell you how he did it, but he had all these sticky notes everywhere, showing where everything was, or, you know, leaving notes for himself where certain things were. And so I'll talk about this photo. It's just interesting when you're shooting film. I was shooting with the Nikon F5, and I'm pretty sure I was shooting with the 20mm 2.8 Nikon, which was the widest lens that I had, but that's pretty wide for the time. You know, you had 35 to 72.8. You didn't have a 17 to 35 yet, I don't believe. And you didn't, well, maybe, yeah, you had to have a 17 to 35 back then, but I couldn't afford much, so I had a 20mm 2.8, which I picked up for a couple $100, which was a very solid lens. And at first, when I was shooting here, you have to remember, you're shooting Fuji 800 film. You can't look at the picture when you shoot it to make sure you got it right. You had to have a feel for the lighting situation. So at first, I tried with a flash, and then I figured, well, I don't like when the flash is on. It looks kind of fake. So I turned the flash off, and I'm pretty sure I was at about a 20th of a second at 2.8. And those of you who know, 20th of a second is pretty slow. Some pictures had motion blur, but here I froze him right where he was. He was reaching up to find an album. I don't know what for, but I just thought it was really cool that he allowed me to shoot whatever I wanted. I was just hanging out. I never met him. This was the first time I met him. I didn't have an afro back then, though, which would have been great if I did. But I did have these mutton chops, these huge sideburns that were interesting. Excuse me. So I took a couple pictures, but this worked out well. I talk about leading lines and rule of thirds. Here he's in the left third of the image, right? So the leading lines of the bookcase, the record case, lead you into the image. Also, you see him on the left-hand side. If he was in the middle, this picture wouldn't be anything. It just wouldn't look right. Here, this looks nice and balanced. He's on the left side. You have all this room to look into, and I've processed this picture all the way up to a 30 by 45. I've printed this for a showing, and it held up so well from a scan, just a regular scan of the negative, and then printed traditionally, and well, not traditionally, it was printed in a digital machine, but not inkjet, an actual machine that runs through chemicals, because I don't like inkjet prints, and that's a rant for a whole nother day, of course. Especially when you get that large, you're better off outsourcing and paying for a print that you know is going to be perfect, and go from there, rather than wasting ink and getting it wrong at home. And most of you will only have printers as large as, that can do up to 16 by 20. If you spend about $2,000, you can get an Epson that does that. But that's, again, getting off topic. So let's talk about this photo and this whole event. So they were starting to lay down tracks. Not even lay down tracks, they were just jamming. This was the first time. People like Jill Scott was there. She's a great singer. She was just jamming in the studio while Quest was on the drums, just playing, and I sat in the studio and took pictures. You had, what's that guy's name from Living Color? Vernon Reid, I'm pretty sure, from Living Color. And then there was this guy, awesome, Martin Luther McCoy. Nobody knew who Martin Luther McCoy was, but if you've watched Across the Universe, he is the Jimi Hendrix style guy in the movie. Martin Luther, he went by Martin Luther McCoy back then. He had a really cool sounding album, very soulful guy, and was just a really awesome, genuine guy that I just had to, we sat down and just talked for about 20 minutes, and this was really, really cool stuff. So he's in Across the Universe. I highly recommend that video, by the way. I'll put a link to it to Amazon. You should pick it up. It's a Julie Taymor movie, and that also will come up to another photo of the week some point, where I actually was at the scoring of Hey Jude in New York when they played that. Talk about an amazing sounding thing, but that's another story. So we were hanging out, Martin Luther McCoy, Questlove, Tyreek, Kamal, all of these guys from The Roots just hanging out. They let me shoot whatever I wanted. There was some major partying going on, and I don't mean drugs. I just mean people having fun. There was a subway pole. We'll leave it at subway pole, and some ladies. And then there was food. Talk about they had it catered. There was awesome food, great chicken, great snacks. It was just really a hell of a good time. Good, clean fun. And it was a really good party. I've never been to a major party at that point like that, and it was really nice to be accepted in there and just be allowed to shoot pictures of things that good pictures, and shooting film. It's always interesting. All right, I'll go a little further. There was when I was driving home, I said to myself, I better not get pulled over because they're gonna think that I'm a little on the high side. But that's, whatever. I wasn't, technically, because I don't smoke, but that's beside the point again. But what an awesome time, getting access to things like this, talking with their manager, talking with the band members themselves, just being accepted in and allowed to take pictures. And it wasn't because I was with Rolling Stone. It was just, because I don't know, there's a way to be with guys like this or with artists and just fit in and blend in and shoot pictures and, be respectful and you're not the show. They're the show, and, you don't want to show them up. You just want to shoot pictures and do them justice. And I think, this photo, I wanted Rolling Stone to run this. They ended up running a shot of Questlove taking notes in the studio while at the drums, but this is one of my favorite shots of all time that I've taken, and it so happens to be on film. But, I think that's about it. I love this picture. It holds up so well, and it's just, if you've never shot film, I'd say you have to shoot film at least once, but it's kind of passé at this point. But, excuse me again, but being limited to just 800 speed film and low light situations and not being able to look at the picture after you shoot it, you had to rely on the feel of, your expertise, how to get the light right and how to do things like that, and just feel the image and get it, and then, hope that you did it right. And a good test for you guys to practice on is allow yourself 36 pictures, tape something over the back of the camera. Do not let yourself look at those pictures. Test yourself. Shoot 36 pictures. I'll make an assignment like that up at some point, and we'll do a critique of all that. But until then, this is Jared Poland, FroKnowsPhoto.com. Photo of the week, Questlove of The Roots in the studio on assignment for Rolling Stone back in 2003. Talk to you later.